When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Hey, Madeleine. You want to know what's on my mind after a weekend in a college town?
What?
Is that I can no longer hang. So
Same. Same.
It was so fun. So I know I shared this with Madeline in our private Slacks because a lot goes down in there. But I went to visit my sister for her birthday / go to a game day at Auburn University. So obviously big football school, and it was a really fun, like filled Saturday. I can't even say weekend because I felt like everything that happened from the moment I woke up on Saturday to the moment I went to sleep. And it was just so full of things. But I will say, so this is kind of like, I don't want to go so much into it because it's in my weekly report. But one thing that I'm so impressed by, and I just completely forgot because I haven't been to a game in a while, is the game day outfits are so good. So good. And so I'll say for my outfit, so it was the stadium was like striped out. So for Auburn's colors, depending on your section, you were in navy blue, orange, or white. And so I'll confess, our section that Ryan and I seats were in were the orange section. But I was like, I want to go navy blue. So I went navy blue. I went a little rogue. It's fine. It still worked. And I wore like a navy blue shirt. I have this kind of, it's almost like a dry fit material, but it's from Abercrombie. And it's like kind of like form fitting, but it's great because it doesn't show sweat. TMI, I was sweating so much. Wore like a denim skirt. My sister and I collectively have
it was so
cowboy
cute.
boots, so wore cowboy boots. Yeah, when the whole thing, if it wasn't like 80, 90 degrees outside, I definitely would have worn a denim jacket because I'm here for the denim on denim. I did that last year when I went in the game. It was like much cooler out. But yeah, so that was super fun. My sister actually rented from Newly like a denim romper. And then, of course, she changed it last minute into like a big jersey. And I'm like, oh, you should have done it. You should have done it. But the outfits were so good. I love like walking through. We walked like over to like where the student section is to see where a lot of like, the college girls and the sorority girls were because their outfits were
So
just
cute.
so cute. And they were outfits that like you wouldn't have expected that they were at an Auburn football game. Like they were so cute. I would literally wear them like on a weekend or like going to brunch or going to dinner. Like some of them were just so cute. I was like, mental note, like that looks cute. I need to get something similar. So it was so good. And I feel like no one really like talks about that. I feel like most people think of like college like tailgating and game days, but like I don't know, the fashion is real. I mean, I guess we do think about it for like Alabama, like Rush Talk.
The South.
Sorry for me making
yes.
Rush Talk all about Alabama, but that's like the top ones that are always in my feed. And I think like honestly, they bring the fashion like through to game days.
That's like, I have FOMO. I went to a small liberal arts school in Chicago, but my friends who went to school in the South, I'd always see them posting their game day because they were in sororities, and I'd be like, oh, it's just wild.
Yeah.
But also, I'm like, oh, I would have been with you. I'd been like snapping pics. I'd been like, yep, need that.
Yeah,
Need that.
add to Pinterest board.
Yep.
Add to Pinterest board. So we are for sure going to one more game and maybe two. The second one isn't really confirmed, and at this moment they're playing Vanderbilt. So we're trying to like confirm with some family who are fans of Vanderbilt. But so the next game that we are going to, they're playing Texas A&M, and Ryan actually has a master's degree from Texas A&M. He did their like online like marketing program. And he's going as an A&M fan, and I'm honestly torn because I don't know. I always like to dress for where I'm at. So if that
Uh-huh,
means I have to be
uh-huh.
a bandwagon fan, I absolutely will be. But I'm just excited because I know it's another day that I can play dress up and wear college game day attire. So that's my like very random weekend thoughts. I'm also still super tired from it, but that's boring for the show.
Nope, nope. I feel like I need to now confess to the audience what I told you in our pre thing, but Jessica, so I'm going to. But I spent yesterday quite hungover from, wait for it, you guys, two two glasses of wine. Two. This is 30 for all our young listeners. This is 30. It's not something to look forward to. Oh, so yeah, so I also have learned I can't hang. But my weekend thought was, and it might also relates to my weekly report, but I would have I if I were to do like a Freaky Friday scenario, where it's like I wake up in somebody's body or whatever at a certain time, I want to live life in the 80s as a teenager. This, you might be like,
Ooh.
"What? Where are we going with this, Maddie?" So let's get into our reports because it will make more sense when we get to my report because I will connect the dots for you all.
Okay.
And
I'm
yeah,
excited.
it will make
I'm
more
excited. I'm
sense.
intrigued, super
Yeah.
intrigued. Okay, do you want me to kick off with my report?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so for my weekly report for reading, I am reading again. I feel like this is huge for the program, but I went through a lot of different books and I landed on The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. And I believe this is actually the first book that I've read of hers. I believe there's multiple that she has written. Really, really great. Eating, and I guess I could also say obsessing over avocado toast. It is not new. It is not a crazy, even avo toast recipe, but I just can't get enough of it lately. Playing, I just watched Ellen's comedy special on Netflix, and I have so many thoughts about it.
I need to hear it because I just read about it. So I'm like, I need you to give me a little bit.
Okay, so I won't go too deep because I know I need to get through my report here, but
Yeah. Oh,
I
yes.
have to say, so I sometimes think I like know nothing that's happening in Hollywood, but I do remember when all of this went down with Ellen a few years ago, with people coming out saying that she was a mean boss. There were stories, there was so much going on. All of a sudden, Ellen became one of the most hated people in America, and that was a headline. She even talks about it in the special. And so I think as someone who works in marketing, works in media, like cancel culture to me is insane. Now, should any celebrity who's given a platform like the size of Ellen's, should they be mean? No. Should they do illegal things? No. Like nothing of that should happen. But I don't know the full story, but I do know just Ellen's career as a whole is so interesting to me. I will be buying the memoir when it comes out. I'm sure that will be
Okay.
in years to come. She does joke about it in the special, but again, I don't know if that's real or not. I could see her doing it.
Mm.
But again, she's someone who, forever ago when she came out on national television, it was a very huge deal
Huge.
and she received so much backlash. And so I just feel like she's unfortunately one of those figures who people are always going to find something to say about her.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. I mean, anyway, I don't know the full story about that, but I will say the comedy special, I thought it was good. It was her same comedy that I think she brought to the Ellen show that I thought, it makes you chuckle. Like, am I
Okay.
dying on the
Okay.
floor laughing? No.
Okay.
There were some things that were kind of like, okay. But there were some things that, and I think in my mind, a great comedian has great delivery. And I think Ellen has
Mm.
phenomenal delivery of her jokes.
Hmm.
So I liked it for that. Now they're calling it her like farewell to Hollywood, which I don't know. It makes me so sad. Like, and how this is kind of her last thing, but also, and this is a big piece of like the end of it, and I obviously don't want to spoil it, but she, I feel like, has like evolved and grown as a person through such hardship. And like, I would
Mm.
consider this a hardship, like, regardless of what actually went down, like, no one deserves to be canceled and hated by millions of people. So
No.
I think she did a really great job of just ending on the note that she wants to end on. So I really hope there's not
Whoa.
going to be a lot of like negative backlash because I just feel like that's always surrounding her. But I thought it was good. I thought it chuckled. I wasn't like dying on the floor laughing. I will say, so I guess I always considered Ellen like talk show host versus like comedian. I know that's her background, but one of my favorite like comedians and also like I love his movies. They're terrible but great at the same time. It's Adam Sandler.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
watched his comedy special a few weeks ago. I didn't like it. I think I
I
laughed like
haven't seen
once.
it.
And
Oh,
I
I
don't know if I'm
hate to
just
see
being, like,
that.
super, like, tough, and I don't know, it didn't impress me at all, was that. So I thought for that, I chuckled a few times while I watched Ellen, so that's my thoughts around Ellen's comedy special. So yeah, if
Okay,
you're looking
we'll
for
be
something to
watching.
watch, yeah, it's a good watch. Now, for obsessing over, obviously I already shared obsessing over college game day outfits. I have now found myself on that side of Pinterest at this point. Recommending, I saw this on TikTok and I am obsessed. I feel like TikTok always forms anything I fixate over, but it's called polishing the present. It's how you can do little things in the moment to make it better. And I think a really good example of this is, and it could look different for anyone, but for me on Friday night, I took a flight out. A little thing is I get a little sweet treat before my flight. Like it's just so little, but it just, I don't know, I look forward to it. Like as I've gotten older, and I don't even know like how this has happened. And it's not every time, but as I've gotten older, my flight anxiety has gotten a little bit, not, I don't say worse, but it's gotten more present. And I don't really know exactly what that's about. But anyway, I like a little sweet treat. So I think it's just something small that you can kind of do to kind of make it a little bit better, that make that moment better. It could be buying something, it could be yeah, just doing something that's a little bit more for you. And so finally for treating, I I have to actually do it this weekend, so I can't physically add to cart, but I'm going on a trip soon, and so I'm gonna treat myself to a couple of good, like, wardrobe pieces that I've seen and have been wanting forever from Anthro, for my trip because I just know I'm gonna love them and I'm gonna feel so confident and happy, and I'm gonna love looking back at the photos if I'm, like, wearing a cute outfit. So that's what I'm gonna treat myself to this weekend, so I will definitely share what I purchased. If anyone's interested in my little, like, haul, I can share that. So
Yes,
that's
yes,
my weekly
me,
report.
me. It is I am interested. I wrote down to add, like, you're gonna be sending me those pieces. Okay.
Yes, I will.
For my weekly report, so starting off reading, I'm reading The Karma of Success still. So good, almost done with it. We'll probably be on to a new book next week or following week. I'm eating cotton candy grapes, literally obsessed with cotton candy
So
grapes.
good.
Put them in the freezer, then you really do feel like you're eating like a little dessert. Like your ice, if you're like me and like want a dessert after every meal, like dinner.
Mhm.
So there's your little
Mhm.
dessert. And then for playing, this is bringing us back to the weekend thoughts. I watched over the weekend Bratz, and it's not Bratz like the like girly like the toy, but it's a document or yeah, a document about the Brat Pack from the 80s, and it was directed by Andrew McCarthy, who was in the Brat Pack. And if you're like me, you love like 80s, the 80s classic rom-coms, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club. It was just so interesting because I just never realized how much that affected them. That like so the whole thing is about how when this article came out entitled them the Brat Pack. And it really messed with them. Like it typecast them and just like a lot of them
Yeah.
tried to get out of this. But at the same time, like it was, if you think about it, it was and they talk about this. This was pop culture. This was finally when they were making movies about teenagers, about people in their 20s, like young kids were seeing films that they based their like that they saw themselves in. And so anyways though, like the 80s would have been a wild time just like the 90s. I mean, but imagine the time without social media. And I know for us like it's just like the paparazzi and like the tabloids and all of this stuff. So that's where I was going with. I would have like, and again, our parents, like you think about where your parents were before they were even parents. Like when you enter your 30s, I think in your late 20s, you like really do start to realize your parents were people before you. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like you had a life before me. Like
Mhm.
you were crazy. Like you also got hungover. What? So
Right, right.
anyways, that's where that thought was. And then for obsessing over, I am obsessing over my new kimono, which leads me to what I'm recommending. I'm recommending that everybody gets a kimono because it's going to become your entire personality and you are going to be like this new person and can accomplish anything in your life. And then what I'm treating myself to is rest. Rest.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like that's something that we all like we we all take for granted. I feel like there was something that I was when I was in my yoga class yesterday. Madeline will be so proud of me.
Yes.
But she mentioned something at the end of class and it was just so good that the only given thing that we have is we can breathe. We can slow down, we
Mm.
can rest our bodies and we can breathe. And I just really thought about that and I was like, that's so simple, but I mean, how many times do we forget to, like, I know for myself, I feel like I make my days, same to Madeline, like, we make our days so full. It's like we forget to breathe. And then
Mm.
our body will tell us, like, no, you like actually need to rest. You need to take it down a notch. So
Mhm.
I think that's a great way to treat yourself. Also,
Yes.
now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, should I get a kimono for my trip? So
Yes. The answer
I think
is
it needs to
yes.
happen.
Because when you get out of the shower and you put on this silky kimono, you're just like, oh, you
Hmm.
feel like your higher self. I even told Brennan that this weekend. I was like, I
Oh,
am my higher self right now. When I put this on, I'm like, I am reminded to be my higher self.
yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that. That's kind of like how, I know we've talked about this before, but they say like to embody your higher self. Okay, like how does she dress? How does
Mm-hmm.
she carry herself? Like what does she do for herself? And sometimes it's as simple as, just I think we have so much capability to like change our own life. And I mean not to be dramatic here, but
No,
sometimes
no.
you but yeah, you can, like, I think you can really, like, bring it back into, like, your business too, like, you can change so many things, like,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, whenever the heck you want to, so, anyway, should
I
we
love that.
before we get into our tangent or our therapy sesh, whatever we wanna call it, do we wanna dive into our water cooler, which I guess is also another therapy session at times
Yes.
too.
Yes. Okay. So this week, hi. Curious if any of you do marketing for a med spa or any similar client-based businesses and have any tips for encouraging providers to get before and after photos and content to share on socials. I'm having a hard time getting providers to give me any sort of content of before and afters and such. Their management is asking if I have any ideas of how to get them to contribute more and I'm unsure. We've asked multiple ways.
Mm.
You've come to the right person. You have. For those of you who don't know, that is my niche. And this is the biggest pain point I've ever come across for any med spa, salon, permanent makeup art, anything in the beauty
Mhm.
industry. It is like pulling teeth. And I wish I could say I have the solution. I'm going to tell you the few things that I've done and that I've seen that we've all tried to do. So, one, there is one client that I'm thinking of in particular where they had it in their contract where they would tell each of their providers, like, you have to post to your personal, like your business, like their provider account X amount of times a week. That always felt very extreme to me. And I didn't necessarily support that because it's just like, I feel for the provider at the same time because at the end of the day, like they didn't sign up to be content creators. They didn't sign up to be social media managers. And I would tell my clients, like, you have to remember the salon's page or the meds or the spa's account and the provider's page, they like the salon's page is not the portfolio page. Does that make sense? So like they're med
Mhm.
spa providers, like that is, it's not their job. So that's one thing. So that always like kind of made a few light bulbs go off. But then, so to kind of attack it, I would attack it of one of two ways. One, I would schedule yourself going in like for a day to actually be the one to help get the before and afters. Like pick a day where it's like this one provider, whoever, or even because you're getting behind the scenes. And again, I don't know. We just know what you provide us here, you know? So it's like, I don't know what your contract is for this client, but I would recommend going into the spa like once or twice a month, even where you know on a day that they're busy, and just kind of get behind the scenes and honestly get before and after pictures. Like go in, because a lot of times with med spas, they're signing, like the patient has signed over this not NDA, what am I trying to, like this contract, not even a
Like a
contract, just this
release
full,
almost?
yes, a
Yeah.
release. Or it's
Yeah.
like you say yes that you like we can take before and after pictures, and
Mhm.
oftentimes they always did sign it, because let's be honest, the people who are getting Botox and all those things, like we're like, yeah, you can show us. That's me, I'm speaking to myself. Like we're like, we don't care. Like we're
Mhm.
like waiting for our moment. We're like, somebody's gonna see it
Mhm.
and we're gonna become influencers
Right,
again.
right.
So that's one way. So like going in, and then the second is maybe you need to have a workshop with them, because maybe their confidence is just not there. It is hard. Sometimes they are going to forget the before and afters, but sometimes they just feel awkward. They feel awkward asking that patient, even though they've signed that release form. So walk through them, like go over that consultation. Like they already go over, like start to like script it almost. Like mock scene it, where you know they're going to go through, where you're going to ask the patient, and I'm just using Botox right now, you know, even for hair, like Kimber, my hairdresser, she still does this consult with me. And you go through, you know, you're like, okay, this is what, like your 11s, you're wanting some in your forehead, going
Mhm.
through all those motions, but then working with them to be like, okay, once you've done that, this would be a good time where it's like, oh, like, do you mind if I take some before afters? Like, because they'll be excited. Like, the before and afters are a testimonial in itself. And like, sometimes I think the providers forget that, where it's like, by you taking these before and after pictures, like you're only helping yourself. And my favorite would be when it always happened with hair, like my hair girly pops, my stylist, because I would hear this. So they would be like, "Well, I'm not getting booked," and I would the salon owner
Mhm.
would always let me be the bad guy, and I'd be like, "Well, you're not taking pictures, like you're not being
Mhm.
active on your account," and like it does stink, because you're like, "Oh, I have to be content creator," but that is how you get booked,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so
And
you
to
rip
that
that
point,
band-aid off.
yeah, to that point, you do it for a little while. I mean, you don't need to I mean, yes, the more you do it, it will become second nature and you'll keep doing it. You'll be
Mhm.
much more confident and comfortable asking for it. But then you will get booked and busy and you won't need to have to like rely on that. You know, you'll have like a wait list or you'll have like months and months out that your books are full. And so I think that the best advice was to I mean, again, I know if that person is managing the med spa and they're not local, then that definitely solves, creates some
Mhm.
barriers. But I mean,
Yes.
that's one thing that I think that question is always, how do I just get content in general?
Mm.
Sometimes you just are the best as a social media marketer to just get it yourself. And sometimes it's tricky and you have to like think outside of the box. But if you can, I really think it's the best way to just to grab it yourself.
And yes, and the last thing I'll say, if again, if you are a beauty provider listening to this, which I hope we do, if we do, like let us know, send us a DM. But you would be surprised, like by doing before and after content with your clients, you're going to build a better relationship with them. Like you're gonna find yourself probably discovering a few of your clients who actually are low key like wanting to become influencers, who if you were once your confidence is there, you might then skip over the before and after and be like, "Hey, I saw this TikTok. Would you want to do this with me?" And you'll be
Mhm.
surprised. Like they might be like, "Heck yeah, like let's do it." I before my hair appointments, I always have a roster, a list of TikToks or reels that I'm like, "Kimber, let's do this." And so
Mhm.
maybe you'll end up having clients like that who are your
Yeah.
dream clients, who are the ones who like basically they even direct you where they're like, "Let's do this one." And you're like,
Mhm.
"Okay."
Yep. Yeah, which is the
And because
best
that's
feeling
a
ever.
dream.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like when I recently, when I was living in Connecticut, I found someone to do my hair while I was there, and she was great. Like, really, really loved her. And she was capturing content. And even before, like, because we did a lot of like color correcting, I was like, "Do you want
Mm.
it before? Do you want to grab one?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah." Like, I totally forgot. And I was like, I work in marketing, but also it was like a correction, so I also wanted to really, like, see it myself too.
Mhm.
And then, of course, as I'm, like, sitting and processing and all of that, I'm like, "We could do this video, we could do that." Like, this is just things that I'm not even on Beauty Talk, and I just see all these, like, fun ideas, but yeah, that can definitely happen because, your clients will not everyone will, some people are more, they're not super comfortable in front of the camera, but there are some really easy trends that anyone will want to do regardless of kind
Mhm.
of how they feel about being in front of the camera. So I think just kind of empowering those providers to, kind of have that open conversation with their clients is the best way. And I would really think about the ways that you, because I know they mentioned in the water cooler they've asked in multiple ways. I'm
Mm.
sure. I know we don't know what those ways are, but I'm sure there is something else. Like, I think if you're thinking about it, how do you simplify it? To me, that's the easiest thing. I just feel like sometimes it's always down to communication. Like, how are you communicating with either your client or the providers directly, depending on what that relationship looks like? Maybe it's just communicating, getting content in a simpler way. Sometimes I know we overcomplicate things as marketers because our brains are working in overdrive all the time, and so we're probably super technical and we're asking for all those things. Like, if we could really slow down and simplify, like, you might start to see something kind of come as well.
Okay, I lied. One more thing, because it like this just made me think of one other way you could maybe, and maybe this isn't a way you asked or whatever. Set up like not a like a selfie station, like a cool background,
Mm.
where it's like very like in your office, because again, like like the aesthetic where people are going to want a picture in front of this wall, because even though it's
Mhm.
2024, like we still I think
Yeah.
are in 2016 where that became a
Mhm.
thing. And so like maybe you get a ring light for the office where it's like the patient comes in, and again, maybe that's a part of the steps of the process before you even go back, where you like are like, "Hey, let's grab your before picture." And
Mhm.
then the after pictures again with Botox that, and let's say you are a med spa. Botox can be kind of hard because
Mhm.
you're not going to see right away, like you are relying then on the client to get the or the after.
Mhm.
Again, it's tricky, but
Ooh.
I'm hoping that this gives you some ideas.
Yeah, I wonder if, like, a, like, post-procedure, like,
Mm,
s
mhm.
I don't know, for lack of a better word, like, process. Maybe it's like a quick, like, check-in, like, via SMS, which you could automate, and it could be, like, checking in at a certain time
Ooh.
frame, and maybe it's like, the text says something like, "Hey, Jessica, like, just checking in after your procedure. Like, can you snap a quick selfie?" Like, just to send it through, or it's something even like, um or reword it if you don't want it to be that corny, just say, "Hey, we know your most recent, like, 10 photos on your camera roll are, like, selfies of your gorgeous
Yeah.
face. Send us a photo." Like, that could be a really good way to get that after as well.
Ooh, that's gonna be a clip. I like
Yep.
that. Mhm. Okay.
Yep. I like when our
Mike,
brains work. I like when they work.
and
They complement.
that's hashtag managed.
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay, I wanna get into what's on my feed because I know we already talked about it, so spoiler. But I thought that this was something that I wanted, like, chat through the specifics of that as
Mhm.
well because okay, so Madeline and I both saw something on our feed, and the Clearly Collective is the name of the company, and the creator creates luxury silk scarves that are actually collegiate, game day attire or scarves, like if you're an alumni, or if you're just a fan of the team. And she designs them based off of architecture like that is known on those specific campuses. And I thought it's such a great way because there's nothing, I think maybe we'll start seeing something soon in like collegiate and even sports um like attire for women. It's one thing that I've always like I always opt for like if it's a sports team or like a short shirt, like if Ryan's like I remember one time when we first started dating, I think he bought me like a bedazzled like Notre Dame like shirt. I'm like, I will never wear
No.
that ever. And then he's like, okay, he'll buy like his size and then he'll like size down for me. And like that's like
Uh-huh.
now what because it's just so much better. But anyway, I thought this was so creative, and it's something that is really needed for like collegiate sports, but it also I am here for a silk scarf. So I actually have two. They're nothing fancy by any means. They're both from Zara, but I'm packing them for my trip that I'm going on because I just love a silk scarf moment. I feel like I don't know, vacation Jessica is really into them. I need to like incorporate them more into like how I accessorize like, when I'm home, um but I think it's just a great accessory. Like you can a scarf is probably the most versatile thing that
Mhm.
is out there, or one of the most versatile things that is out there. And so I saw this on my For You page, and I actually think that I saved one of the videos like forever ago because I noticed when I went to like the top like pinned posts that were on her TikTok page, I had saved one of them. But she was sharing how she's kind of going through a lot of different like business incubators and different things to kind of like pitch and probably raise funding and all of that. And she was thinking like how does she grow
Yeah, we
the
saw the same video that
business?
yes, we
Yep,
saw the same
yep,
yep, mhm.
yep. Because I think I saw Madeline's comment, and then I was going to leave a comment, and then I think I was also cooking dinner. I was multitasking, and I never left said comment. So here, here is my comment. I mean, obviously, very timely. We just talked about luxury marketing here on the podcast. So I feel like that goes really hand in hand. I would consider it a luxury good. And I think the biggest thing, there is nothing more than school pride, like here in the United States. Like every college, no matter what size, has a huge alumni base, Greek life. I mean, there are so many layers to schools. I mean, again, there's, large universities, there's smaller, like liberal arts schools, there's different colleges, like sizes in between there. But there is just so much pride for that. And I'll say, I grew up in Atlanta, and well, okay, now at this point, a couple of people in my family and friends of family have gone to the University of Georgia. My entire family, they were fans of the University of Georgia like well before any of us grandkids started like going off to school. And that pride is so deeply rooted in all of these schools, not just the South, like all over. I mean, I know Madeline and I both share, like, obviously Ryan and Brennan, like huge Notre Dame fans. I
Mhm.
mean, when I first started dating Ryan and a Notre Dame game was on, I couldn't even talk to him. Like, he would just be like in the zone watching the game. Now he's a little different. Close, like, still hasn't
Mhm.
completely changed. But it's just the pride is so deep, and so I think really leaning into that I don't even know what to say, like, I don't wanna say culture, but I guess it is.
History. I feel like
Yeah,
it's
his
culture and history because why I love the architecture could it's funny because my comment, I think I didn't realize at the time that she did have a Notre Dame one, but oh my gosh, I wish everybody could visit Notre Dame's, like, the golden, like, dome.
Mhm,
It's just unreal. So, like, I'm looking at the scarf currently and just, like, how
mhm,
she like, does it where it's not it's just so beautiful. It's
mhm.
so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Every design is super unique, and I think that is what makes it like super special. I think it's definitely a piece that again, there's a lot of money that obviously
Mm,
go into these schools, and after people graduate, like you're still so deeply rooted in your school. Whether it's like Greek life that's connecting you, whether it's the like different like academic associations that are connecting you, like alumni associations. And I think that's one thing that I definitely noticed being at Auburn. And of course, I was noticing everyone's like fashion, but there is such a level, like an up level of like the older alumni who were there, like the parents who were there, who, their kids are like legacies for the schools. And I feel like legacy is the biggest thing that I would say for the
Mm.
scarves. Like that would just be a great campaign to kind of show, I think we talked about like
Ooh.
in our luxury marketing episode, right? Like a necklace that could be passed down to like generation to generation. Like why could you not do that with a scarf? Like if you have a legacy of like a lineage of family, like grandmother went to this school and is in this sorority, then the daughter, the mom does that, and then the granddaughter like now does that, and it keeps going. And that's, I think, for so many schools around the US. So anyway, long story short, that is what was on my feed, and I think you guys should really check it out. It's so unique, and I feel like I haven't seen a product that unique in so
Mm-mm.
long. And I love that it was collectively on our feeds around the same time.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So while that was on my feed, what's really was on my feed is because I've seen multiple, and it's the Anthropology's Holiday House on the Upper West Side in New York. And I'm like, I want to go so badly, but they've converted this townhouse. Again, it goes back to, I forget how many episodes, probably a few, probably 10 or so, but
Mhm.
with their Anthro Saloon to launch their fall collection. If you're a loyal listener, like we just Anthro can do no wrong. Their marketing team is just so good. And so this is an experience where you can go and you can look at all their holiday stuff, and similar to what Jessica was saying about treating herself to some, I think Anthro's stuff is quality pieces that last. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like sometimes it is hard to
Mhm.
push the buy button. Like I can easily add everything to my cart, but yeah, like
Mhm.
when I add everything, then I see it's like
Mhm.
4 digits, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
I can't do
Right. It's
that
like,
right now.
I've got to part with some things. I always just
Yeah,
close the cart. I'm like, I'll try again.
yeah. Yes. And so this holiday season, I've decided, so I'm very like, our apartment always has fresh flowers. Like that is one way I romanticize, and similar to what you were saying in your report, where the polishing the present. So
Mhm.
I have a few holiday items in my cart right now. I'm waiting for maybe them to go on sale, or like they always have their like
Mhm.
40% off, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait for that. But definitely check it out. It's stunning, and it really makes me want to book a trip to New York with Harmony and Jessica. Like, oh my goodness, just New York in the fall and in the winter, you can't like summer in New York, yes, too. Like I know it's fun, but no, just the nostalgia in New York. Christmas time
Mhm.
is like my happy place. Like I've been a few
Mhm.
times during the winter, and it's just so magical.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
magical. So,
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we will. Maybe we will make a trip, and oh my gosh, could you imagine if that like mood board that trend where it's like when the group chat becomes out of the group chat or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Manifest that, audience. Manifest that
Yeah.
for all of us. And maybe you meet us there. Maybe you meet us in New York. Oh my gosh, that would be the dream. I
Yeah.
know we both would love to meet so many of you. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yes, that would be so fun. It reminds me last year, this was, and I'm sure we'll do so many good episodes around holiday marketing,
Ugh,
but
yes.
last year on Fifth Ave, where of course you go see all the window displays and all of that, which is always so fun. But last year, Nest, the fragrance company, they were I don't know, blasting might be a little tense, but they were sharing, they were blasting their scent. Like I think maybe it's called Holiday. I'll have to go look. I purchased it because I was obsessed with it. But
Okay.
we were walking and I could just smell, it's cedar and like all the good, like evergreen, like all of the great scents, like cinnamon. It was
Ugh.
one of the best holiday scents I've ever smelled, but it was outside. And I was like, this was so, so fun. So it was a really fun campaign that they did to kind of make the experience a little bit more. And of course, people are Googling, like, okay, why does the streets of New York City smell? They're Googling that already, but like it's popping up on obviously on Fifth Ave for all things holiday, like with the scent. And so it was so good. And I definitely purchased it because I'm like, I need my apartment to smell like this Christmas season. So it's so fun. And we've talked about scents being like part of the experience in the past. And so I thought that was such a cool touch.
Wait, yes, wait, I have one thing on to that ties into that you just remind me. So in
Mhm.
Chicago, there is a street where there is a chocolate factory, and like the
Mm.
streets smell like chocolate. And a while back I was gifted one of those like homesick candles, like you know how like
Mhm.
there's like
Yeah.
cities, and I swear to you, the Chicago one, it personally, I don't want a candle that smells like chocolate. Like where it's like I
Mhm.
do love that, but
Mhm.
like that's not gonna be my first fragrance that I have.
Right.
Anyways, I was gifted it and I was like, why is it chocolate? And then years later, I was like, but
Mm.
if you're not like if you didn't live in Chicago, again, I lived there and I was
Mhm.
still like kind of like, why does this smell like chocolate?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Oh, that's
but
interesting.
yes,
But yeah, scent can really like unlock a lot of memories. And I'm sure Anthropology's Holiday House probably smells amazing because
amazing.
they have the best scents year round, seasonally, but year
Yes.
round. So,
Yes. Ugh.
all right, let's dive into show me the numbers, bringing this segment back. I know we don't bring it up every single week that we record the podcast, but this week's episode is super special because, well, one, it's episode 99, so the countdown to 100 is so real, so close. And we're doing a fun hashtag managed wrapped. So, a play on Spotify's end of year wrapped, but we wanted to recap the past 100 episodes. So, Madeline and I can take turns kind of reading off a couple of these fun stats and maybe kind of, I don't know, reminiscing on how we got there with those stats. So the first one that we have, I know I just mentioned it, but right now our total episodes, we've had 99 episodes of the podcast as we're recording this one. Obviously, next week is episode 100, which is the big one. And I also want to add to that as well that that's consistent. We have not skipped a week at all. Like, at all. And I feel like that's very, like, unheard of for podcasts. One, for podcasts to even reach 100 is crazy. I mean, a lot of podcasts, I think the number is, like, they either stop around 8, and then I think the next one is in the 20s. But then at that point, like, I mean, 100 is a pretty, pretty big deal. So I just want to say, like, obviously, huge thank you to all of you guys for listening. Obviously, thank you to Madeline for coming in and being a great co host along my side. And also, shout out to Harmony, who does all of our editing, producing. Harmony is seriously the best. So just wanted to say that quick thank you
Yes.
on that
Yes.
number.
Okay, and then we have for downloads 33,000. That's unreal.
Yeah. I feel like that number to me is so so exciting. I
Mhm.
looked last. Okay, when was this? Hold on, I just remembered. It was January or December 2023, January 2024, we were around 12,000. And so I feel like that
Whoa.
jump is also really good. I know I didn't put it in here, so sorry guys. You had to bear with me to do this the mental math, but I was pulling these numbers yesterday, but I thought that was such an exciting number. I mean, I know the downloads always grow because people can always kind of like listen to like any of our episodes, obviously like our new ones that come out every Monday. But yeah, that number to me is so exciting and also kind of scary. Like, oh my gosh,
Mm.
people have heard me talk that many times. Like, I'm kind of embarrassed.
Yes. Yes. And then number of reviews via Apple Podcasts, we have 30,
Mhm.
which
Yes.
impressive. I love to see that number increase. So, as you're
Hmm.
listening, wink wink. But hey, cuz Spotify, I'm sure we have more on Spotify, but you can't you know like it's just ratings I think on Spotify.
Yeah, so it's just ratings, and I'm pretty sure when I looked, it didn't tell me the specific number, which was interesting. I can try to see if I can look at it as like guessed of looking at the podcast, but it's weird because I was looking at like, there's some data for the Spotify for podcasters, but it's
Yeah.
not it needs to be improved, and I get there's probably
Spotify,
some.
if you're listening, we
Yeah.
got some ideas for
Oh,
you.
okay, wait. Okay, sorry, guys. I did not even look at this to pull it in, but we have 41 ratings on Spotify.
Okay.
Okay, so, like, 71 collective reviews
Yeah.
of the show. We've got a 4.7. I feel like that when I'm looking at all the other podcasts I have in my library, that's what they all are as well. So that also makes me think, okay, Spotify, are you actually updating that? But I think that's just so fun. So yeah, if you guys haven't rated or reviewed, I know it's a little different based off Spotify or Apple. So wherever you're listening, maybe do it right now. You can actually do it while you're listening to an episode. I noticed that the other day when I was leaving a review. So yeah, we don't have to wait till the end to kind of go
Yeah.
from there. Speaking of Spotify, this number really shocked me, but we have 586 followers of the podcast on Spotify. So I thought that was a really interesting number. It was a lot higher than I expected.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm proud of that number. Like I feel like in a very, how do I want to say this? In a world where we do, like, you and I, not per se, but yeah, you do look at your followers, and yes, you want to see your followers go up, but normally you're like, oh, 10K, like all that.
Mhm.
Like, we're not even in the thousands, but to me, I'm just like 586 of you. That means you like actually want to listen to us talk every week.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
actually, that's a lot.
It is,
Like,
yeah, because they'll get that's 586 people who are being notified every Monday
yes.
that there's a new podcast out, which is so cool. So, yeah. That's the energy we need on Instagram because you
Yeah.
mentioned 10K, like, that's what still people are like, "Oh, you need 10K, 10K." Honestly, put 586 people in an auditorium
That's what
and
I'm
ask
saying.
Madeline and I to do a live show, which Vision Board 2025 for sure. But I would have stage fright. I would be so
I would
nervous. And I would also want to go talk to every single person who like showed up
Ye
because that would just be so epic. So,
oh my gosh, I would want that happy hour. Yes. To, like, personally, because I think that's just who you and I are. Like, we want to see your like,
mhm,
just you and I talk being a podcaster, also, if you're listening and, like, have wanted to start your own podcast, but have been too scared, first of all, just do it. But second
mhm,
of all, like, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, because, like, you don't know. Like, yes, we can go through these numbers, but at the same time, you're just like, oh, did they, in my imposter syndrome head, I'm just like, oh, they might have
mhm.
accidentally like pressed the follow
Right.
button
Right.
because I'm
Right.
mean to
Yeah.
myself. I'm like, oh, they don't really want to listen.
Yeah. And then, you get like a really awesome like DM from someone, like shout out Amanda, who I feel like is our best hype girl. Like I saw one of her reviews. I think she left like a comment on Spotify like a couple months ago and she was like, "Love the show. Look forward to Mondays." And I was just like, that is the nicest thing ever. Just for
Mm-hmm.
anyone to take any time out to like leave a comment on Instagram or DM on Instagram, post in the Facebook group, like tag us in their weekly report. I mean, I don't know. To me, that's just so like so cool. It makes it
Yeah.
really like worthwhile. Like it really does. Because I think one thing that like Madeline and I shared, like we're sharing our like actual conversations that we have every single week. Now I know we talk a lot more than that, but you guys probably also don't want to listen to a 5 hour like podcast. We could probably do it if you really like put us down in the room and do it. But it's nice that people are listening and I think we give such a great platform. I know we'll talk about the Facebook group as well, but that's such a great extension of the podcast to where it's people comment all the time or post like this is the best group on Facebook. And to me, like it makes it all worth it because, we're putting so much time and energy and resources into the podcasts and the groups. And honestly, like, yes, do we have big goals of like big sponsorships, big brand deals? Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Let's be real. We can't not say that. But yeah, just to get people's feedback and that they love and listen to the show, like, I don't know, to me, that makes it, like, more worthwhile. I'm not someone who's very, like, I don't need that, like, words of affirmation, but when I get it, I'm like, I don't know, I fixate. I'm like, "That's the best thing
Oh,
anyone has said to me."
see, I do like words of affirmations, but with the 586 followers too on Spotify, I don't know, like, I think I just lost my train of thought. I had some Oh, okay, I lost my train of thought.
Okay, maybe it'll come back. It'll come back. Okay, email subscribers. We have 3,906, which I feel like is a really, really fun number. I know most of those people come from the group, and it's just so fun that they're like receiving the weekly email. So if you didn't know, we do have the social club newsletter that Madeline works on every single week. All the links, anything we talk about is in that newsletter that you can access. And yeah, it's just a great newsletter.
And I also I look, like, I'm that person who I looked every week after I send it. Like, I'll wait a
Mhm.
few days, but I
Mhm.
will look and see I look at the analytics, like, how many people opened it, how many people clicked, what did they click? And I would say, if I had to guesstimate, we at least 500 of you guys are avid readers of it,
Mhm.
and it makes my heart happy because to me that is like
Mhm.
the affirmation that I need where I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
they like actually are interested in this newsletter,"
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
You
Oh,
know,
okay.
you
We're like
deserve you deserve to get to like this is all you. Like where it's like I cannot take any credit for like the Facebook like I'm just so incredibly proud of you. Like not to be cheesy, but like seriously like it's an honor to be your co-host, but this number like you have grown this from the ground up. So like
Mhm. Yeah.
shout
So
out to you.
thank you, thank you. And I'm also gonna shout out and bring in Harmony on this one as well because she's such a integral like part of the growth for this. So the Facebook group has 21,730 people. And I will say that number is huge. We celebrate it all the time because it's amazing. Like Madeline said, it started from nothing. It started as a Facebook group for maybe small business owners for marketing tips, and then as the hashtag managed collective like really took off, we're like, no, this is an extension of being a social media manager in that community. And even though that number is very large, we are kind of like we're kind of picky about who we let in. I mean, obviously it's open for all. It's free to join. Um but we're picky. We want people who are social media marketers. They work in the industry. They want to work in the industry. So again, it's open to anyone within the social media world, but we try to our best to curate that audience a little bit more, right? We don't want people to come in from super random audiences who might make the group content or dynamic kind of shift. So I think we are a little particular with who is in. But yeah, I think the group is such a fun place. I know it's a great place if you ever have a question or anything. Like, well, one, please submit it on the hashtag hotline. Madeline and I would love to answer
Mm.
it, like, and give like the best advice that we can. I would say that the group is the second best place because there's other marketers in there who will comment, leave some advice, give some help. And yeah, it's just a great supportive community. And so many people, I feel like, who create Facebook groups. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to drop it. So many people create Facebook groups to monetize.
Mm.
And I think that's why all those Facebook groups are now closed um, or abandoned because to me, a group, it's in the word, is a community. And so for us, we call it the collective. And it's a place that should be open for anyone to join, obviously, to kind of fit within that niche and industry. But we don't ask anything from anyone. I mean, do we say, like, hey, do you want to join our super cool newsletter? Of course. So that to me their email address, your email address, if you have joined, like that's our currency. That's how we get you kind of like into our audience. But again, we're also not selling on that newsletter because it's just great value from the podcast. And so I think that's kind of an unpopular opinion that most people are really just trying to sell, and we don't do that. So, I mean, do we have things that we promote in there and monetize? Absolutely, but it's not the main goal. And I think that really goes to show how much it's grown. So that's
Amen.
that's the Facebook group. Yep.
And then for Instagram, the number of Instagram posts, your girl needs to up this number, but right as at the present, it's 67, which I do like. It's just one of those like I feel like me working on hashtag manage Instagram has been a rebirth for myself, honestly.
Mhm.
Um in so many ways. So I will be forever grateful for that and for you for giving me the
Mhm.
opportunity to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's our hashtag managed wrapped. Those are our really fun numbers that we wanted to kind of dive in for this episode and just kind of highlight. Again, I know Madeline and I have both shown like our gratitude, and it's our countdown to the 100th episode. So whether you just started listening now and you're like, okay, these girls are crazy for number 100, or you've been listening to us since Madeline joined as co host at the top of the year, or maybe you've been here since 2023 when I started the podcast. Thank you for being here for all of its eras. Appreciate that. But I think we're really entering a really fun era where we're really learning more about like ourselves as podcast hosts and like the kind of content that we want to produce for the show. So I'm excited. I feel like every week we're always like we meet with Harmony, we have our planning sessions, and we're always talking about really fun, cool things that we want to do. And obviously, good things come in due time. So they will take some time to kind of come into fruition. And, those vision board goals will go from vision board to real life. We'll do it. But yeah, I think just looking back and just kind of reminiscing on the podcast, it's been such a great creative outlet, and I think that was definitely one of the things I needed when I invited Madeline to co-host with me, because I did not have it, guys. I was exhausted but hey, we did it. Harvey and I still put out podcast episodes even though I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm so bored out of my mind. But now it's really turned into a fun show to do fun content for the newsletter, for Instagram. We met up in Charleston in April and shot really fun content. We'll do that again soon. And so yeah, it's been great. So yeah. Any last words that you have, Madeline?
Other than thank you, just reiterating gratitude for you guys listening in each week. It wouldn't be possible. Like, it wouldn't be possible. Like, we obviously see that you are listening. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Keep and share it. If you enjoyed this episode, share it to your Instagram stories. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to see it. But other than that, no.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening to yet another episode of Hashtag Managed. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you all next week for the big 100. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at hashtag managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding, but we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.